Hello everyone, this is Annie Anjum joining you in Liberty Square on Mango Prime. Thank you so much for watching our segment. Today we are going to continue with our Women's Empowerment series in conjunction with civil liberties. I have here with me a good friend of mine, Fozia Janjua, who also happens to be the first Pakistani Muslim councilwoman in South Jersey. She's a council person in Mount Laurel. And here we are. Welcome to the show, Fozia.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you for having me today.
I hope that we can speak to her about her journey, how she got involved into civic engagement and politics, and what hurdles she's encountered, and how she overcame those, and also what changes she has made and hopes to implement in the near future. Okay, so Fozia, tell me, how did you get involved in politics?
So the whole process was very organic, in a sense. I've always been into community service and community engagement. I started a nonprofit 6 years ago with 7 friends. We were a little disheartened with what was going on in the country, how it was becoming so divisive, that we decided to do something about it. And we created a nonprofit, and the mission of the nonprofit is to unite communities through service. So I've always been involved in the community. I've always worked with marginalized members of my community, and running or going into public service just seemed like the natural next step. The way it happened was very serendipitous in a sense. My husband was invited to the governor's mansion for a holiday party. I wasn't supposed to go with him, but I went with him, and over there I met a lady who actually happened to like what I was wearing, and it became a bit of a talking point, and I found out she was the head of the Democratic chair of my town.
Oh, wow.
We kept in touch, and she reached out to me and said, you know, I think you would be perfect as a candidate for town council. And it took a lot for me to say yes. They say that a lot with women. You have to ask them multiple times before they say yes to doing something. So she had asked me multiple times. I actually had the assemblywoman of my town call me, of my district call me to ask me to run before I finally said yes. So that's where it brought me.
What were some of the issues holding you back from saying yes right away?
I think the issues that were holding me back are the issues that many women feel. I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past 18 years. Just putting yourself out there in that sense was very daunting to me because it's not something that I was used to. A lot of times us as women, we question our abilities and our worth. It's like that imposter syndrome, like, am I really good enough? Is there something that I can really do? So just that was the bigger hurdle for me. It was more of an internal hurdle of, can I do this? Or should I do this? Or am I good enough to do this? And I think it's something that a lot of women go through, a lot of powerful women go through. And once I got over that, that's when I was like, okay, you know what? I have to do this. If I don't do this, then who will do it? If I don't take this step, then how am I going to inspire other people to take this step? So it was kind of like a breaking barriers type thing for me.
That's awesome. I'm going to get back to this in a little bit, but in the meantime, I want to ask you, since you've been elected or during your election period, were there any issues that you ran into that you would address to the women watching this show right now? कि ये इतना मुश्किल नहीं है जितना आप समझते हैं पब्लिकली इन्वॉल्व होना, या इतना मुश्किल है लेकिन मैंने इसको ऐसे ओवरकम किया, आप क्या कहोगी?
You know, if you want to be involved in politics, which I think most people should get involved, you should be involved in your community. You should know what's going on in your town. Local politics affects our day-to-day lives more than national politics. If it's something that you want to do, then go for it. You know, find out who is in charge of your chair in your town and go for it. It's something that is open to everybody. It's not that you have to have a certain degree or you have to be of a certain position or you have to be of a certain race. Like a lot of times we think politics is reserved for the white male. And we've seen over the past 4 years that that's changing. Even in New Jersey ourselves, we have a lot more South Asians that are running for elected office. We have a lot more women that are running for elective office. So it's finally coming out there that it's not. Politics and being involved in your community and community engagement is for everyone. And if you're a minority, then it's even more imperative for you to get involved. Because like they say, if you don't have a seat at the decision-making table, then decisions are being made for you. So you don't want to be on the menu. You want to be at the table where these decisions are being made that affect your day-to-day lives.
I agree with Fozia that it's so important to get involved in your local politics. And sometimes when we hear politics, I know myself, prior to being more engaged, I thought politics was just behest, debating against each other, and you're either a Democrat or you're a Republican. However, throughout my journey, which my journey has been very minuscule compared to yours.
I would not minimize anything that you've done.
True.
I mean, because it's all about taking that step and putting yourself out there and paving the way. Because your journey has inspired other people to take that journey. Your journey inspired me to take my journey, Annie, to be honest. You know, when I saw that you did this and you paved that way, and when I got this opportunity, I'm like, you know what? I think I can do this too. So I don't think I ever told you this, but you did. You were an inspiration for me to take this journey. You and Maheen, you guys inspired me to take this journey. So.
That's so good to hear, Fozia. That feels so good. But you know, I just wanted to add one more thing. In order to be involved doesn't mean you have to be in an elected position. मैं हमेशा सबको कहती हूँ, start with school. You know,
yeah, that's where
be
I
a
started,
room mom, then join the PTA, then go to the zone PTA, and then जब लोग complain करते हैं ना, that's when I'm just like सुनती. Then I'm like, so what are you gonna do about it? And that's when people are like, what do you mean I'm gonna do about it? I'm like, this is your tax money, your say, and unless you get involved, you have to live with the decisions of other people, right?
Well, that's what I say. I say, for me personally, with my life, I feel like I don't have the right to complain about things if I'm not willing to do something about it.
So Fozia, you brought up your kids and your family. How did they feel when you decided to run, or now that you've been elected? Has it been difficult to maintain a family life with a public life?
I never imagined myself as being a stay-at-home mom. That's something that I never thought that I would be doing in my life. You know, I always thought that I thought I was going to go to law school and be a lawyer, but you know, life has different plans.
I agree.
And there were times where I felt very disheartened with the way that my life was going. I always wanted to do more and be involved more. I have 4 kids, mashallah, and now I realize that at that time, it wasn't my time. You know, my kids were young and they needed me more, and I couldn't pick up something else, because if I did, then my family life would have suffered. Now that my kids are older, I was able to take on this extra responsibility. And at times it has been challenging, but because my kids are older and I have that support from my husband, I'm able to do it. So like most women, we have to have that support. We can't do it on our own, especially when we have kids and we have families. We can't always do that on our own. When I was campaigning, my kids were very involved with my campaigning, so we made a bit of a family bonding thing.
Oh, wonderful.
Election night, we were at our campaign headquarters, and my husband was with me, but my kids were home. And we were trying to, you know, we were looking at the election results, and I found out that I won. So it was a very exciting moment. I called my parents, I called my sisters, and then I called my kids. I'm like, you guys, I won. You know, mommy's like the councilwoman in town. And then my husband and I came home, and they were like, oh, congratulations. And I turned to the kitchen, and there's like all these dishes that are in the sink. So I'm sitting there, and I'm standing there, I'm like doing the dishes, and at the time I'm thinking, I just won an election. I made history in my town. My town is now 5-0 Democrat after 36 years of Republican rule. I'm the first Muslim Pakistani councilwoman, and here I am doing dishes. So I think when you have family, they really ground you in a sense.
Yes. What about the community, not just the Southeast Asian community and your own township? Have you had any repercussions or regrets?
Not at all. I mean, the only thing that I'm having some trouble coming to terms with is the fact that I'm not going to always make people happy. there's always going to be decisions that I have to make where people are going to be upset with me. So the thing that keeps me, that kind of like balances me out, is knowing that I am making the decisions that I feel like are the best for me. In terms of the community, like of the South Asian community and community as a whole, you really realize who really is happy for you in the end and who's not happy for you in the end. So I think you kind of realize who your true friends are, who your cheerleaders are, and who are not. That has been something that's been very hard for me to kind of grasp, is because I've always been somebody who is happy for my friends and happy for people and happy for their achievements, genuinely happy.
Yes.
But to not see that and see a change in people's attitude towards me because of this, because I see myself as being the same person, but I think other people don't see me as being the same person. My kids, I've noticed that in a sense, they do respect me a lot more.
Is that right?
And my family does. I have two sisters who are very successful, mashallah. My older sister works for the tech industry. My younger sister is an engineer with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. So I always felt like I should be doing more in my life. And now my family sees me and they're like, wow, you really did kind of take that leap. And I noticed that I've gotten a lot more respect from not only my immediate family, but my in-laws and my extended family. Yeah, sure. When I was campaigning, my ads were being featured all around town. So I had friends who were calling me up and telling me, my daughter saw your ad and she's so proud to see somebody like her doing something like this. You not only give your family and your friends a sense of pride, but you kind of get a sense of pride yourself, like just knowing that you're helping to pave the way for others and you're making a difference in the lives of others and you're inspiring others to go on this journey. And hopefully, my hope is for people to go above me. My hope is to have South Asian women or have my friend's daughter run for president or run for like Congress or take steps above me. I mean, I just want to be the stepping stone for them to do more.
You spoke about your family's reaction. Can you tell me about some of the struggles that you faced during the campaign or afterwards, since you've been in the public light? Anything that you really struggled with and you've overcome or you're still looking to overcome?
Okay. So for me, I was lucky enough to have the support of the Democratic committee in my town. So in that sense, I didn't have that struggle of being the first Pakistani or the first Muslim or the first woman of color to be in this position, because I had their support and I was asked to run. But people who are not, it is a struggle for them to get their foot in the door and for them to get involved. So they usually have to start out at a very grassroots level, start off by like campaigning with other candidates to get themselves known. The struggle right now for me, now that I'm in this position, is not only is to not be a token person, not be that token minority women. I want people to know that now that I'm at the table, I have a voice, I have an opinion, and I'm gonna say what that is. So for example, just recently we had a vote on breweries in our town. And as a Muslim, I don't drink. That's something that I don't do. And I took a stand, and even though they all voted for it, I abstained. So, and they were all kind of surprised, like, oh wait, why did you do that? I'm like, well, on religious grounds, I'm gonna abstain from that. I don't judge people who do, none of that matters to me, but personally for me, I'm gonna abstain. So I think a lot of people were surprised that I did that, because it's not me just following along with everybody and being this token person that's just like in agreement with what everybody says and does, but holding on to my values and holding on to my beliefs. So that's one of the struggles that I think I'm going to continue to face, and knowing that I can't make everybody happy and I'm not going to go along with them, but something that I'm going to use my voice in this platform.
So Fouzia, for a lot of our viewers who are watching right now, I think they're concerned oftentimes about getting involved because of the time restrictions and the commitment required. So as a councilwoman, what do you do in a day in and day out basis? What is your job and how much time does it require?
So we have a couple of meetings a month, And right now, since things are virtual, it's been fairly easy for me, right? 5 minutes before I'm supposed to log on, I go into the office. So the time commitment right now has been bad. It all depends on what we have on the table for our meetings, depending on how many residents show up and how controversial a topic is. There have been meetings where I've been online until like close to 11 p.m. listening to people. But what a councilwoman does, and I'm also on the planning board, the town planning board, but what a councilwoman does is basically day-to-day things that affect the town. Roads being built, new, like the breweries that I mentioned earlier, garbage being picked up, what days it's going to be picked up, who's going to be picking up the garbage, things that affect residents' lives, like stop signs. Maybe recently we had one where the speed limit in one of the developments was high and people were complaining that cars are going through there so fast. So we changed it and we brought the speed limit down lower. So it's just everything that you can think of that affects you day to day is what we do. Budgets, whether your taxes get raised or not, that's all things that we discuss. So it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of being informed on things, and then coming to meetings and listening to residents. And that's probably one of the things that is the most fun for me in a sense, is just getting to know my residents and seeing people come and having them talk and, listening to them and listening to their concerns, and then being able to actually solve their concerns, right? Because you have the power to make people's lives better.
Fozia, being that this is a Southeast Asian platform, can you inform our viewers about any issues that you've run into or that you're working with that impact the Southeast Asian community?
So there aren't any issues per se. One thing that when I did get elected, I did reach out to a lot of my South Asian friends in town, and I asked them to join the boards, the various boards in town, like the planning boards or the library boards, just so that they could get more involved, That's one of the things that I'm really focused on now, is getting more people to step out of their comfort zone and get involved politically. One of the things that I've been working on with a lot of other elected officials in town in New Jersey, is getting a Muslim Heritage Month approved, to celebrate just Muslim heritage in general. We have the second highest population of Muslims in the state of New Jersey, the first one being Michigan. So there are a lot of us here, and we want a lot of Muslim students to grow up with that sense of pride. So we're trying to get that approved. I've actually recently, during Ramadan, I was on a panel with the governor, and I talked about the different projects that I've been running through my nonprofit in feeding our community and doing food drives. I recently was on a call with the senator about issues that are happening in the Middle East and how that's affecting people. So just using my voice and using this platform to make things better for people. So like I mentioned about that call I had recently with a senator, because of that call, both senators in our town and even the governor, made a statement about things that are happening in the Middle East that are affecting people that are living in New Jersey. And it may not seem like a lot, but 3-4 weeks ago, we would not have expected them to do this.
Agreed.
So it's like these little things that we work and we do behind the scenes do have an impact. So we just hope that things get better in the future, the more we work on stuff like this.
In conclusion, with Fozia, I'd like to ask Fozia, do you have any advice of words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our viewers?
One of the things that I do want to share is to support the women in your lives. Whether you're a husband or a son or a father or a friend, support them, encourage them. And even with women, like often women, especially South Asian women, we criticize each other and we put each other down a lot. And that mentality needs to change. We need to empower and support each other and not, ridicule people for taking that step. Like sometimes people look at me and they're like, who does she think she is?
Yeah.
Is she really even qualified? And sometimes that can get to your head.
Absolutely.
But then you have to go to that person Like I go to Tammy, the co-chair of my Democratic committee, who picked me, who's like, no, you are amazing. You have no idea how amazing you are. I see that in you. You need to see it in yourself. And that's what we need to do. We need to support each other. We need to tell each other how amazing we are, because every woman out there is doing things that are powerful, right? Whether you're raising your family, that's something that's empowering. You're raising the future generation. You're creating productive members of society. So don't ever diminish what you're doing. Empower yourself, and people in these women's lives, empower them too, and support each other.
Thank you so much, Fozia.
You're welcome. Thank you, Annie. This was so much fun talking to you.
Likewise. Here we are with another segment of Liberty Square on Mango Prime. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us any comments and questions, and tell us. I always say this is your channel and we'd like to talk about what you'd like to hear. So let us know and we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Once again, this is Mango Prime.